So today we remember the loss of so many in New York City, in a somber field in Pennsylvania, and here in this very building behind me, and in many battles since, and some of those battles are still raging.
Colonel Ronald F. Golinsky, United States Army, retired. Ian J. Gray.
Each family here today represents a son or daughter, a sister or brother, a mother or father who was taken from you on that terrible, terrible day. But no force on earth can ever take away your memories, diminish your love, or break your will to endure and carry on and go forward.
This is a Fox News weather alert. Hurricane Florence strengthening to Category 4. That means winds up to 140 miles an hour, taking aim at the mid-Atlantic coast within days. Virginia's governor ordering a mandatory evacuation for some residents of low-lying coastal areas. That's about 245,000 people. Multiple counties in North Carolina also issuing mandatory evacuation orders. South Carolina's governor ordering the state's entire coastline to be evacuated starting noon on Tuesday. That is about 1 million people.
We know that this evacuation order that I'm issuing is going to be inconvenient for some people. It's going to be inconvenient, but we do not want to risk one South Carolina life in this hurricane. So we're willing to suffer some inconvenience.
The Navy ordered 30 ships at its largest base along the Virginia coast out to sea to avoid Florence, but those ships will be ready to return for rescue operations as needed. 2 other storms spinning in the Atlantic and in the Pacific. Hawaii is bracing for Hurricane Olivia, triggering warnings for multiple Hawaiian islands. For all the latest on these big storms, let's check in with meteorologist Adam Klotz, standing by now in the Fox News Extreme Weather Center. All right, Adam, we know it's hurricane season. It's now really heating up.
Yeah, really heating up. And today typically is the peak, the meteorological peak of hurricane season. And it's looking like it because there are a lot of big storms out there, beginning with Florence. This one now a Category 4, 140 mile an hour winds, rapidly intensifying today. You see the eye of the storm there, very well defined. This still a long ways away from the U.S. coast, now just sitting south of Bermuda. But here is the track it's going to run. You notice it stays a Category 4 storm. So this is a big one with strong winds, anywhere from currently at 140 miles an hour, likely will be running up to 150 miles an hour or greater. The timeline on this particular storm and this track taking it just outside of the Carolinas by early Thursday morning. So at this point, weather in the Carolinas have already begun to deteriorate, and it'll be making landfall likely Thursday afternoon into the overnight hours. Still enough time here for this to speed up or slow down. That's why there's still some indecision on when this storm will arrive. But it is going to be a powerful one because it's running over such warm water. You're looking at winds at a Category 4 level from 130 to 156 miles an hour. Likely this will be on the higher end of that. So maybe 150 mile an hour winds as this approaches the shore, which is enough to be a real wind damage maker when you start to get there right along the coast. All of our tropical models making this run, you see, by and large, a lot of agreement here. And that tells you a lot about where this is going to be ending up. Anywhere from perhaps Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, running up to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, an area where we're paying close attention to. But now, this is taking you to Thursday. If I add on the tail end of this, this is suddenly where there's a little bit more indecision. Is the storm going to stall just off the coast and just drop a lot of rain? Is it going to run inland and take that rain with it? That's something we're going to have to wait and see. We do need a couple more days to get a better idea of what this does once it hits the coast. And to not be, if it is able to just hover there just off the coast, we could be talking about rainfall amounts that really begin to pile up, maybe 2 feet of rain or more. And then again, Shannon, you did mention Hurricane Olivia, one that's getting overlooked maybe a little bit because of all the activity we're seeing in the Atlantic. But this storm will be moving over the Hawaiian Islands in the next day as also. This is just a tropical storm, but it's still a big one for the folks out there.
All right, Adam Klotz, we will be checking in with you. We know you're working around the clock with all these big storms on the horizon there. Thank you.
Yeah, lots going on.
The president's approval rating is plummeting, down to just 36% in our new CNN poll. The White House could choose to focus on some good news, okay? It's, people always say, oh, you don't tell the good news about this administration. I mean, I'm talking about, you know, the surrogates. Okay, so let's give some facts. Unemployment is down to 3.9%. The GDP is up to 4.2%. There's even growth in blue-collar jobs, up 3% over the past year, in industries including manufacturing, more growth than in service jobs. And Americans are hearing that message. Again, facts first, 69% in our exclusive new CNN poll say the economy is good today. So those are the facts. We're laying them out. Good news for the economy. But even when the news is good, it seems that this White House, this president, well, just can't help but lie. I want you to take a look at the president's tweet this morning, falsely claiming that it's the first time in over 100 years that the GDP is higher than unemployment. Okay? That is just not true. In fact, in the last 70 years, it has happened in at least 62 quarters. Most recently in 2006. That's a fact as well. And by the way, economists will tell you that's an apples and oranges comparison anyway. So why did the president lie in his tweet when the facts are so easy to see? Okay, so here's the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors.
From the initial fact to what the president said, that I don't know the whole chain of command. But what is true is that it's the highest in 10 years. And at some point, somebody probably conveyed it to him, adding a zero to that, and they shouldn't have done that.
A top economic advisor forced to admit that the president's claim about the jobless rate and the GDP is false, and saying this about the president's tweets.
I think at a previous presser, I once said that I don't run the Council of Twitter Advisors.
President Trump is lying, even about good news. And you know, if someone lies to you about good news, imagine what they do about bad news. And Americans are hearing that too. Just 32% in our new CNN poll say they see the president as honest and trustworthy. The worst read in CNN polling. And that's no surprise. Just last week, our friends at the Washington Post reported that President Trump has made a stunning 4,713 false or misleading claims, on average of about 8 per day. 8 per day. And that was just last week. Since then, we have heard the president double down on one of his favorite false claims, his insistence that he is building a border wall, one he now claims to have spent $3.2 billion building.
We've started the wall. Everybody wants the wall. We've spent $3.2 billion on the wall. We've got to get the rest of the funding.
Nope, not true. That's a lie. The wall has not been started. Congress has approved $1.6 billion to replace existing barriers and add some fencing in new areas, not to build a new wall. Okay? And remember this?
Is your plan still to have Mexico pay for the wall?
Yes, it will. One way or the other, Mexico is going to pay for the wall.
Another lie. Mexico's foreign minister tweeting they will never pay for a wall.
This era in D.C. has been marked by mystery, by many mysteries. Not chief among those mysteries, but maybe deputy chief among those mysteries, is how come White House counsel Don Mcgahn is so good at playing the hero in the press? How come he's so good at getting a heroic portrait of his actions and his secret beliefs and his stoic forbearance into the papers? How has White House counsel Don Mcgahn managed to get so many stories into the newspapers in which he alone, he bravely, is secretly the real American hero? Don Mcgahn is reported to have been the one who calmed the president down after Robert Mueller was appointed, so the president didn't do something truly crazy. Don Mcgahn is reported to have threatened to resign rather than fire special counsel Robert Mueller, which the president had ordered him to do. Bob Mcgahn saved Bob Mueller. Think the White House weirdly mismanaged the firing of National Security Advisor Mike Flynn after they were warned Flynn was compromised by a foreign government? No. At least Don Mcgahn didn't mismanage anything. Don Mcgahn, reportedly, warned the White House about the lying of National Security Advisor Mike Flynn right away. He was right on top of it. Don Mcgahn shows up in the press as hanging in there through the chaos, selflessly pulling back from quitting, doing all the right things, and hanging in there to take care of the country's needs, despite really being pushed around by the president in an unfair way. I don't know who one day will play the part of someone familiar with Don Mcgahn's thinking when a movie is made of all this, but the role is getting larger every day. This weekend, The Times reported that Don Mcgahn has cooperated extensively in the Robert Mueller inquiry, that he sat with investigators for 30 hours over the past 9 months. The Times laid out how the president tried to ensure control of the investigation, though never going beyond his legal authorities. And yes, the White House may be a little freaked out to realize they had no idea Don Mcgahn had talked so much and had been so forthcoming. They have no idea what he said in those 30 hours of testimony that he, Don Mcgahn, had no choice but to selflessly give. Tonight, NBC News is reporting, according to a source familiar with the matter, that Don Mcgahn's legal team told the president's lawyers he would have resigned if he thought he had witnessed the president committing a crime. The source tells NBC there's no way of knowing how Don Mcgahn's testimony may fit with any other evidence that the Mueller investigation has collected. The mystery of Don Mcgahn, the secret heroism of Don Mcgahn, keeps growing by the hour. There are a few lumps in the ointment, though. Hold that thought.